May Wong's distinctive beauty, her heart-shaped face, almond-shaped eyes, trend-setting hairstyles, and graceful figure, set her apart as a unique star. Yet her brilliant career was often overshadowed by the harsh realities of Hollywood, plagued by corruption, racism, and the prejudices of the time. This is the dramatic and often tragic story of May Wong, the stunning daughter of a Chinese-American laundryman who rose to fame as a major screen siren and beloved fashion icon. Anna, a third-generation Californian, was part of a family whose roots traced back to the early Chinese immigrants of the Gold Rush era. Her grandparents settled in California by 1855. Between then and Anna's birth in 1905, the Chinese community in California faced a dramatic shift from initial acceptance to exclusion in the 1880s and escalating racial hostility by the late 19th century. These historical challenges shaped May Wong's life. Despite being a native Californian with deep local roots, she faced severe social prejudice and discriminatory laws. May Wong was born on January 3, 1905, at 351 Flower Street, near Los Angeles' Chinatown. Her birth name, Wong Liu Tsong, meant frosted yellow willows, but she became widely known as Anna May. Her father, Wong Sam-sing, also known as Lung Gren, married Li Gon Toy in San Francisco on September 9, 1901, in accordance with Chinese traditions. The couple initially lived in Chinatown, where they ran the Wong family laundry. Their first child, a daughter named Lu Ying, known as Lulu, was born soon after. Disappointed by the absence of a son, Wong Sam-sing distanced himself from the family for days. When Anna May was born, her arrival was followed by a bout of measles that afflicted her mother, sister, and herself, further adding to her father's frustrations over not having a male heir. The family later moved to 351 Flower Street, in a racially mixed neighborhood just outside Chinatown, where they established the Sam Key Laundry. Wong Sam-sing belonged to a generation of Chinese men who faced immense struggles in America. As opportunities in gold mining dwindled and the Transcontinental Railroad was completed, Chinese laborers were met with growing hostility and violence from white workers and other groups. Initially scattered across the West, Chinese immigrants worked in laundries, restaurants, and farms. However, rising anti-Chinese sentiment after the Civil War forced many, including Wong Sam-sing, to move to larger cities, leading to the creation of Chinatowns. These urban enclaves were overcrowded and poorly maintained, but they became cultural hubs where residents preserved traditional lifestyles and controlled local businesses. The Wong family's ability to move out of Chinatown reflected a degree of economic success. Over the years, Anna May's family grew. After Lulu was born in 1902 and Anna May was born in 1905, 6 more siblings followed: James, Mary, Frank, Roger, Marietta, and Richard Wong, born between 1907 and 1922. By 1910, the family had moved to a neighborhood on Figueroa Street, where they were the only Chinese family living among mostly Mexican and Eastern European neighbors. This new environment, separated from Chinatown by 2 hills, helped Anna May adapt to American culture. She attended public school with Lulu, but faced relentless bullying. One boy repeatedly stuck needles into her, prompting her to wear thicker coats, but he retaliated by using longer needles. Other boys pulled her braids, pushed her off the sidewalk, and shouted racist slurs. Due to this harassment, Anna May and her sister transferred to a Presbyterian Chinese school, where classes were conducted in English. Additionally, Anna May attended a Chinese language school in the afternoons and on Saturdays, as her parents insisted. However, she often skipped these lessons to visit theaters and movie sets. Around this time, the U.S. film industry was shifting from the East Coast to Los Angeles, bringing film production close to Anna May's neighborhood. Chinatown was frequently used as a stand-in for China in movies, and film crews were often present in the area. Her parents were wary of the film industry, Her mother even believed cameras could steal a person's soul, a sentiment later misattributed to Anna May herself. Despite her parents' fears, Anna May was captivated by the new medium, which blended the cultures and languages of her American upbringing with her Chinese heritage. Directors filming in Chinatown often needed Chinese extras, which gave Anna May Wong her first opportunity in film at the age of 14. She appeared as an extra in Alla Nazimova's The Red Lantern. Before participating, Wong had to secure her father's permission, which he granted only after ensuring that other respectable Chinese men on set would protect her. The experience was exhilarating for Wong. "I would worm my way through the crowd and get as close to the cameras as I dared. I'd stare and stare at these glamorous individuals, directors, cameramen, assistants, and actors in grease paint," she recalled in a 1926 Time interview. Over the next 2 years, Wong juggled school with small film roles. However, a diagnosis of St. Vitus's dance forced her to miss months of school and left her emotionally drained. Her father sought help from a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, whom Wong later credited for her recovery. In 1921, Wong left school to pursue acting full-time. Reflecting on this decision, she told Motion Picture magazine, "I was so young when I began that I knew I still had youth if I failed, so I was determined to give myself 10 years to succeed as an actress." That same year, she earned her first screen credit in Bits of Life, an anthology film. In the segment Hop, she played Toy Ling, Lon Chaney's wife, and fondly remembered the role as her only chance to play a mother. Her performance earned her a cover feature on the British magazine Picture Show. At just 17, Wong landed her first starring role in The Toll of the Sea, an early two-color Technicolor film loosely based on Madame Butterfly and written by Francis Marion. Critics praised her performance. Variety called it extraordinarily fine, while the New York Times highlighted her natural talent, stating, "Miss Wong stirs in the spectator all the sympathy her part calls for. She has a difficult role, a role that is botched 9 times out of 10, but hers is the 10th performance." The film was groundbreaking for its use of Technicolor and showcased Wong's remarkable acting ability. Throughout the early 1920s, Wong continued working steadily, appearing in films alongside stars like Priscilla Dean and Colleen Moore. She developed a reputation for her nuanced, natural acting style. Her expressive eyebrows and intense gaze captivated audiences, while her blunt-cut bangs accentuated her strikingly symmetrical features. Despite often being cast in exotic roles during the silent film era, her voice, when heard in later films, was refined and cultured, defying stereotypes that audiences had projected onto her. Wong seemed poised for stardom, but significant challenges lay ahead. Despite glowing reviews, Hollywood was reluctant to cast Wong in leading roles due to her ethnicity. David Schwartz, chief curator of the Museum of the Moving Image, remarked, "She built up a level of stardom in Hollywood, but Hollywood didn't know what to do with her." Opportunities for Asian actresses were limited and often riddled with racial stereotypes. Wong was frequently cast in roles that fit the butterfly or dragon lady tropes of the time, either submissive and demure or villainous and manipulative. As a result, she was often relegated to supporting roles, such as a concubine in Todd Browning's Drifting in 1923. Although Wong's fame grew, she was still confined to secondary roles. In 1923, she expressed cautious optimism about her career, saying, "Pictures are fine and I'm getting along all right, but it's not so bad to have the longer behind you, so you can wait and take good parts and be independent when you're climbing." However, even as her career advanced, Wong faced significant pay disparities. For example, in Daughter of the Dragon, where she had top billing, she earned $6,000, while Warner Oland, with only 23 minutes of screen time, was paid $12,000. Similarly, for Shanghai Express, Wong received $6,000, compared to Marlene Dietrich's $78,000. At the age of 19, Wong landed a role as a clever Mongol slave in the 1924 Douglas Fairbanks film, The Thief of Baghdad. Though brief, her portrayal of the stereotypical dragon lady captivated both audiences and critics. The film was a major success, earning over $2 million, and significantly raised Wong's profile. Around this time, she was involved in a highly publicized and controversial affair with the film's director, Todd Browning. The relationship drew attention due to her young age and the interracial nature of their romance, which was particularly contentious given the anti-miscegenation laws of the era. After this role, Wong moved out of her family home and into her own apartment, adopting the flapper lifestyle that was emblematic of the 1920s. While her flapper persona showcased her playful side, Wong was also serious about advancing her career. In March 1924, she founded May Wong Productions with the goal of creating films based on Chinese myths. However, the company dissolved after Wong sued her business partner for dishonesty. Her career continued to be hindered by U.S. anti-miscegenation laws, which prohibited her from portraying romantic relationships with non-Asian actors, even when the character she played was Asian but cast opposite a white actor. "I see no reason why Chinese and English people should not kiss on the screen, even though I prefer not to," she remarked to Time. The lack of prominent Asian male actors in Hollywood further limited her opportunities for leading roles. Sessio Hayakawa was the only significant Asian male actor in silent films at the time, and without more like him, Wong was often relegated to supporting roles. As a result, Wong was frequently cast in stereotypical roles, such as seductive vamps or exotic native women. In 1924, she played an Eskimo in The Alaskan, filmed in Alaska, and Princess Tiger Lily in Peter Pan, shot by cinematographer James Wong Howe. While The Alaskan was less notable, Peter Pan became a Christmas season hit. The following year, Wong earned critical praise for her role as an Oriental vamp in 40 Winks. Despite this recognition, she grew increasingly frustrated with the limited and stereotypical roles offered to her. In early 1925, Wong joined a vaudeville tour with other serial stars, but the tour was unsuccessful, forcing her to return to Hollywood. In 1926, she participated in a historic moment by placing the first rivet in the construction of Grauman's Chinese Theater, alongside Norma Talmadge, though she was notably excluded from leaving her handprints in cement. That same year, Wong starred in The Silk Bouquet, later retitled The Dragon Horse. In 1927, this film became one of the first U.S. productions to receive Chinese financial backing, courtesy of San Francisco's Chinese Six Companies. Set during the Ming Dynasty in China, the film notably featured Asian actors in Asian roles. In Old San Francisco, directed by Alan Crosland for Warner Brothers, Wong played a gangster's daughter. However, in Mr. Wu, she lost the lead role due to increasing censorship against mixed-race on-screen couples, a setback that repeated the following year in The Crimson City. Frustrated by these restrictions, Wong began seeking opportunities outside the U.S. In 1928, she decided to move to Europe, hoping for more diverse roles and greater freedom, including the possibility of on-screen romances and interactions with white co-stars. While in Germany, Wong befriended Leni Riefenstahl, who was then an actress and had not yet transitioned into directing. Riefenstahl would later become the official filmmaker of the Third Reich. At the time, Germany and China maintained friendly relations, which lasted until 1936, when Germany shifted its allegiance to Imperial Japan through the Anti-Comintern Pact. This realignment strained relations between the two nations, and after Pearl Harbor in 1941, China declared war on Germany. These geopolitical tensions likely placed a significant strain on the friendship between Wong and Riefenstahl, as both women became closely tied to their respective countries' causes. During the 1930s and 1940s, Wong developed close relationships with European women, such as Marlene Dietrich and Cecil Cunningham, which sparked rumors of lesbian affairs back in the United States. These rumors negatively affected her reputation and caused additional distress to her family, who had always disapproved of her acting career, viewing it as improper. In Europe, Wong quickly rose to stardom, appearing in acclaimed German films like Song, Show Life and Pavement Butterfly. The New York Times reported on her success in Song, noting that German critics praised her as both a talented actress and a great beauty. In Vienna, she impressed audiences with her performance in the operetta Chun-Chi, which she delivered in fluent German. An Austrian reviewer commended her performance, stating, "Fräulein Wong had the audience perfectly in her power, carrying off the difficult German-speaking part very successfully." An American gossip columnist in Europe remarked on her popularity among the elite, dubbing her the toast of the continent. This admiration, however, often carried a self-congratulatory tone, as Europeans sought to portray themselves as more progressive than silly, racist Americans, even while perpetuating similar fetishizing attitudes. In Britain, Wong made her stage debut in the play A Circle of Chalk alongside a young Laurence Olivier. Critics noted her Californian accent, calling it a Yankee squeak, prompting Wong to undergo vocal training at Cambridge University. Composer Constant Lambert, captivated by Wong after seeing her films, attended the play's opening night and later dedicated his 8 poems of Li Po to her. Wong's last silent film, Piccadilly in 1929, was the first of 5 British films in which she played a leading role. Although Gilda Gray received top billing, Variety noted that Wong outshone her co-star. However, Wong was once again prohibited from kissing her white love interest, and a planned kiss scene was cut from the film. Long overlooked, Piccadilly was eventually restored by the British Film Institute. Richard Corliss of Time magazine called it Wong's best film, and The Guardian credited both the film and Wong's performance with helping to revive her reputation. Reflecting on her time in Europe, Wong remarked, "They were all so wonderful to me. You are admired abroad for your accomplishments and loved for yourself. That made me an individual instead of a symbol of my race." While it is debatable whether her European films completely avoided typecasting, it is clear that Wong, like Josephine Baker, Nella Larson, and Langston Hughes, found a level of recognition abroad that she never experienced in America. With the rise of talkies, Wong faced the same challenge as other silent film actors, adapting to speaking roles. Her first talking film, The Flame of Love, was recorded in French, English, and German. While her multilingual performance was praised, the film itself received lukewarm reviews. In the 1930s, as American studios sought new European talent, Wong ironically caught their attention. Paramount Studios offered her a contract in 1903, and she returned to the U.S. with the promise of lead roles. Her European experience helped her secure a starring role on Broadway in On the Spot, a drama that ran for 167 performances and was later adapted into the film Dangerous to Know. When the play's director suggested she use stereotypical Japanese mannerisms for her Chinese character, Wong refused, insisting on authentic Chinese style and gestures. Tragically, in November 1930, Wong's mother was struck and killed by a car outside their home on Figueroa Street. The family remained there until 1934, when Wong's father returned to China with her younger siblings, whom Anna May had financially supported through their education. Before departing, Wong's father expressed his pride in her in an article for Shining, a magazine for overseas Taishanese readers. Wong then accepted another stereotypical role, playing a vengeful daughter in Daughter of the Dragon in 1931. She was drawn to the project by the opportunity to work with director Joseph von Sternberg. This film marked her final portrayal of an evil Chinese character, and her only starring role alongside Sessue Hayakawa, another prominent Asian actor of the era. Around this time, Wong began using her increasing fame to speak out on political issues. In late 1931, she strongly condemned the Mukden incident and Japan's invasion of Manchuria. She also became more outspoken in advocating for the rights of Chinese Americans and for better roles in Hollywood. In a 1933 Film Weekly interview titled "I Protest," Wong voiced her frustration with the negative stereotypes in Daughter of the Dragon, asking, "Why is it that the screen Chinese is always the villain and such a crude one? Murderous, treacherous, a snake in the grass? We are not like that. How could we be the civilization that is so many times older than the West?" Her next role was in the iconic film Shanghai Express, directed by Joseph von Sternberg. Wong starred alongside Marlene Dietrich, playing a self-sacrificing courtesan. Her intense scenes with Dietrich sparked considerable commentary and fueled rumors about the nature of their off-screen relationship. In the 1930s, the idea of a romantic affair between two leading Hollywood women was highly scandalous. While contemporary reviews largely praised Dietrich's performance, some modern film historians believe Wong's portrayal outshone Dietrich's. However, the Chinese press had mixed reactions to Wong's work, particularly in Shanghai Express. One newspaper ran the headline, "Paramount utilizes May Wong to produce picture to disgrace China." Critics in China accused her of dishonoring the Chinese people and perpetuating harmful stereotypes about Chinese women. Despite harsh criticism from the nationalist government, Wong received recognition from intellectuals and liberals. In 1932, Peking University awarded her an honorary doctorate, a rare achievement for an actor. Wong was also celebrated as a fashion icon in both the US and Europe. In 1934, the Mayfair Mannequin Society of New York named her the world's best-dressed woman, and in 1938, Look magazine called her the world's most beautiful Chinese girl. This period marked her golden era, where she embodied the ideal Hollywood star, glamorous, intelligent, powerful, and beautiful. Despite her success in Shanghai Express, Wong's Hollywood career soon fell back into familiar patterns of rejection and stereotyping. She was passed over for the lead in The Sun Daughter in favor of Helen Hayes, as MGM claimed Wong was too Chinese to play a Chinese character. Similarly, she was initially cast in The Bitter Tea of General Yen in 1933, but was replaced by Toshia Mori. Frustrated once again with Hollywood, Wong returned to Britain, where she spent nearly 3 years. During this time, she appeared in 4 films and toured Scotland and Ireland with the vaudeville show. She even performed at the King George Silver Jubilee program in 1935. In the film Java Head, Wong achieved a personal milestone by sharing an on-screen kiss with her white co-star, playing her husband. By the mid-1930s, U.S. films began to feature more positive portrayals of Chinese characters, partly influenced by the popularity of Pearl Buck's novels, such as The Good Earth, and by growing American support for nationalist China against Japanese imperialism. Wong returned to the U.S. in June 1935, hoping to secure the lead role of Olan in MGM's adaptation of The Good Earth. She had expressed interest in the role since the book's release in 1931, and by 1933, Los Angeles newspapers were already calling her the ideal choice for the part. However, MGM never seriously considered casting Wong. The Chinese government also opposed her involvement, with advisors warning MGM that her previous film roles had caused negative headlines in China. Fearing backlash and the potential loss of a lucrative market, MGM decided against casting her. May Wong was instead offered the role of Lotus, a deceitful character, which she declined. She told MGM executive Irving Thalberg, "If you let me play Olan, I will be very glad, but you're asking me, with Chinese blood, to play the only unsympathetic role in a film where an all-American cast portrays Chinese characters." Despite author Pearl Buck's preference for Chinese actors, an MGM executive claimed this was impossible due to the American star system. Producer Albert Lewin even remarked that Wong wasn't beautiful enough for the role. Ultimately, Louise Rayner was cast as Olan and won the Best Actress Oscar for her performance. MGM's refusal to consider Wong for the role is now recognized as one of the most egregious examples of casting discrimination in the 1930s, denying Wong a legitimate chance at an Oscar. Ironically, Wong's sister, Mary Liu Hyung Wong, appeared in the film as the Little Bride. After losing the role in The Good Earth, Wong planned a year-long trip to China to visit her father and family in Taishan. She also aimed to study Chinese theater and perform Chinese plays for international audiences. Before departing, she told the San Francisco Chronicle, "For a year I shall study the land of my fathers. Perhaps upon my arrival, I shall feel like an outsider. Perhaps instead, I shall find my past life assuming a dreamlike quality of unreality." In January 1936, she began her journey, documenting her experiences in articles for U.S. newspapers, such as the New York Herald Tribune, the Los Angeles Examiner, the Los Angeles Times, and Photoplay. During a stop in Tokyo on her way to Shanghai, reporters asked Wong about her love life. She joked, "Now I am wedded to my art," but Japanese newspapers humorously misreported this, claiming she had married a wealthy Cantonese man named Art. In China, Wong faced criticism from the nationalist government and Chinese film circles. She also struggled with communication, as she grew up speaking the Taishan dialect rather than Mandarin. She noted that some Chinese dialects sounded as strange to me as Greek, and she often needed an interpreter to communicate with locals. After a brief visit to the Philippines, Wong returned to Hong Kong with her family. However, she was met with hostility upon arrival. A crowd shouted, "Down with Huang Liuzong, the stooge that disgraces China! Don't let her go ashore!" This outburst upset Wong, and a commotion broke out before she was finally able to disembark. She retreated to her family's village in Taishan for 10 days to recover before resuming her tour of China. Back in Hollywood, Wong reflected on her experiences in China and her career, saying, "I'm convinced that I could never play in the Chinese theater. I have no feeling for it. It's a pretty sad situation to be rejected by Chinese because I'm too American, and by American producers because they prefer other races to act Chinese parts." During this time, the pressures of fame deeply affected Wong, leading to a period of depression, anger, and heavy smoking and drinking. To fulfill her contract with Paramount Pictures, Wong starred in several B-movies in the late 1930s. Although these films were critically dismissed, they allowed Wong to play non-stereotypical roles, which were praised by the Chinese American press for their positive representation of Chinese Americans. These lower-budget films featured Wong as successful, professional Chinese American characters, challenging typical Hollywood stereotypes. The Chinese consul in Los Angeles even approved the final scripts for 2 of these films, Daughter of Shanghai in 1937 and King of Chinatown in 1939. In Daughter of Shanghai, Wong portrayed an Asian American heroine in a role specifically adapted for her. The film was even temporarily titled The May Wong Story. In 2006, the Library of Congress selected the film for preservation in the National Film Registry, calling it more truly Wong's personal vehicle than any of her other films. Wong herself said, "I like my part in this picture better than any I've had before because this picture gives the Chinese a break. We have sympathetic parts for a change. To me, that means a great deal." The New York Times praised the film for its strong cast and impressive sets, which elevated it beyond the usual limitations of its genre. In October 1937, rumors surfaced in the press that May Wong might marry her King of Chinatown co-star and childhood friend, Philip Ahn, a Korean-American actor. Wong dismissed the rumors, saying, "It would be like marrying my brother." In King of Chinatown, Wong played a surgeon who sacrifices a lucrative promotion to support the Chinese resistance against the Japanese invasion. However, the New York Times critic Frank S. Nugent gave the film a negative review, acknowledging its support for the Chinese cause, but criticizing it as folderol that Paramount should have avoided. Wong also worked as a tutor for other Paramount actors, including Dorothy Lamour, who played a Eurasian character in Disputed Passage. She made several radio appearances, such as her 1939 role in Pearl Buck's The Patriot on Orson Welles' The Campbell Playhouse. In 1938, Wong auctioned her movie costumes and donated the proceeds to help Chinese refugees, earning recognition from the Chinese Benevolent Association of California. Around this time, her father returned to Los Angeles as the war in China escalated. In 1942, she wrote the preface for New Chinese Recipes, one of the first Chinese cookbooks, with proceeds going to United China Relief. From 1939 to 1942, Wong acted in only a few films, focusing instead on supporting China's fight against Japan during World War II. She embraced her Chinese heritage more deeply, decorating her home with Chinese antiques and incorporating authentic Chinese elements into her costumes, hair, and makeup. She also began studying Mandarin, Cantonese, and the Taishan dialects more seriously. In 1939, Wong spent over 3 months in Australia, headlining a vaudeville show called Highlights from Hollywood at the Tivoli Theatre in Melbourne. Upon her return to California, tragedy struck when her sister Mary passed away on July 25, 1940, after struggling with depression. In 1941, Wong attended several social events at the Mission Inn in Riverside, California. She starred in Bombs Over Burma and Lady from Chungking, both anti-Japanese propaganda films, and donated her entire salary from these projects to United China Relief. Lady from Chungking stood out by depicting Chinese characters as heroes rather than victims needing American intervention. Chinese-American actors played the Chinese roles, while European Americans portrayed the Japanese villains. The film ends with Wong's character delivering a speech envisioning a new China. While The Hollywood Reporter and Variety praised Wong's performance, they criticized the film's plot. In 1943, Madame Chiang Kai-shek, the First Lady of the Republic of China, gave a speech at the Hollywood Bowl, attended by prominent white actresses and Hollywood's political elite, who supported her nationalist cause. The speech received a rousing ovation, but Wong was notably absent, having not been invited. This exclusion deeply saddened her, as it was seen as both a personal and professional slight. One factor was the cultural divide between Wong's Cantonese-speaking Southern Chinese background and the Mandarin-speaking First Lady. Historian Graham Russell Gow Hodges noted that Madame Chiang disapproved of Hollywood's portrayal of Chinese characters and saw Wong as a symbol of the bad old days. Despite Wong's significant contributions to United China Relief, she was excluded from the nationalist narrative. After the war, Wong found comfort in her family, particularly her brother Richard and her close friends. Strict marriage laws and societal prejudices discouraged her from marrying, though she had a few long-term relationships. While she continued to pursue acting, opportunities became scarce, and her career slowed in her later years. Nevertheless, she made history by starring in The Gallery of Madame Liu Tsong, the first American television series to feature an Asian lead. The defeat of Japan by the Allies in 1945 did not bring an end to China's hardships. Shortly thereafter, the country was plunged into a brutal civil war between the nationalist government and communist forces led by Mao Zedong. In 1949, the communists emerged victorious, forcing nationalist leader Chiang Kai-shek to retreat to Taipei, Taiwan, where he established a new headquarters for the nationalist government. May Wong, as a Democrat, supported Adlai Stevenson's campaign during the 1952 presidential election. She also ventured into real estate, owning various properties in Hollywood. She converted her home on San Vicente Boulevard in Santa Monica into the Moongate Apartments, which she managed until 1956 when she moved in with her brother Richard. In 1949, her father passed away in Los Angeles at the age of 91, and that same year, Wong returned to acting, taking a minor role in the B-movie Impact. From August to November 1951, Wong starred in The Gallery of Madame Liu Tsong on the Dumont television network. She portrayed a Chinese art dealer involved in solving mysteries and international intrigue. Although there were plans for a second season, the series was canceled in 1952, and no surviving copies of the episodes or scripts are known to exist. After the series ended, Wong's health began to deteriorate. In late 1953, she experienced an internal hemorrhage, which was attributed to menopause, financial stresses, and her heavy drinking. In 1956, Wong narrated a significant U.S. documentary about China on the ABC travel series Bold Journey. It featured footage from her 1936 visit to China and marked the first time a Chinese American narrated such a program. She also made guest appearances on television shows like Adventures in Paradise, The Barbara Stanwyck Show, and The Life and Legend of Wyatt Earp. Wong was honored during the 1960 inauguration of the Hollywood Walk of Fame with a star at 1708 Vine Street, becoming the first Asian American actress to achieve this recognition. She is also one of 4 figures included in the Gateway to Hollywood sculpture at Hollywood Boulevard and La Brea Avenue, alongside Dolores Del Rio, Dorothy Dandridge, and Mae West, representing varied cultural backgrounds. In 1960, Wong returned to the big screen with a role in Portrait in Black, starring Lana Turner. She was later cast as Madame Liang in the film adaptation of Flower Drum Song, but her declining health forced her to withdraw from the project. On February 3, 1961, 2 days after her final television appearance in the Barbara Stanwyck Show episode titled Dragon by the Tail, May Wong passed away at her Santa Monica home following a heart attack. She was 56 years old. Wong's career and legacy had a lasting influence. At a time when Chinese Americans were often viewed as perpetual foreigners, her ability to blend Eastern and Western aesthetics challenged these stereotypes and emphasized her identity as a Chinese American citizen, despite the discriminatory laws of her era. While her films received little critical attention in the U.S. after her death, Shanghai Express remained an exception. In Europe, particularly England, some of her films were occasionally celebrated at festivals. Wong also became a cultural icon for the LGBTQ+ community, which identified with her status as an outsider marginalized by mainstream society. The Chinese nationalist government took significant, albeit usually negative, interest in Wong's career, while she was largely overlooked in communist China. Within the Asian American film community, however, her contributions have been commemorated through the May Wong Award of Excellence, given annually at the Asian American Arts Awards. In 2021, the U.S. Mint announced that Wong would be featured on the reverse side of the quarter dollar as part of the American Women Quarters series. When the coins entered circulation in 2022, she made history as the first Asian American to appear on U.S. currency. Wong once suggested that her tombstone should read, "She died 1,000 deaths," referencing the tragic endings of many of her film characters. However, her final resting place at Angelus Rosedale Cemetery in Los Angeles bears a more understated inscription, "Our beloved mother," on a grave shared with her mother and sister,